Hello, everybody. This is the introduction to the studio unit Leisure City, a level 3 studio for the monsoon semester 2020 in the Faculty of Architecture. First things first, we should introduce ourselves. I am Blanca Bravo, and I will be teaching this studio alongside Udayan Mazumdar. This is us pre-lockdown, and this is us now. Hi. Due to the pandemic, this semester will be 100% virtual, so we won't be able to meet in person. But since this is our first semester teaching at CEPT, we would like to tell you a little bit about us. So Udayan is from Bombay and I am from Madrid in Spain. We have both been practicing architecture for well over a decade now. We actually met about 10 years ago while working at Herzog and de Meuron in Basel and later on in London. And after several years, we moved to Mexico City, where we joined Tatiana Bilbao's team, where we were working up until last year, actually. During this time in Europe and America, we have been working on projects all over the world. With Herzog and de Meuron, we have worked on the Tate Modern Extension in London, the Skolkovo University in Moscow, the K-MoMA Museum in Kolkata, and many other projects in Switzerland and the UK. With Tatiana, we also worked on various institutional and housing projects in Mexico, the US, and Europe. And at the beginning of the year, we moved to India, right on time for lockdown, started our own practice and joined the faculty team here at CEPT University. So now we're here and we want to share with you our passion for the profession and some of the lessons learned in our years of practice. We are very excited about teaching this semester. We're going to be working on a topic that we believe is very interesting, and we hope that by the end of the presentation, you'll agree with us and join us so that we can all work together.
Yeah, moving on to the studio brief. Blanca and I, our general area of interest is the collective life of cities. More specifically, we're interested in the capacity of architecture to shape and influence the public realm. So in line with this area of interest, we will commence this semester with two threads. First, a context, and second, a theme. So first, starting with our context. So this semester, we're going to look at Bhopal in Ahmedabad, which, as many of you may know, is a new piece of city. Now, Bhopal is very interesting to us because it is emblematic of an almost ubiquitous form of contemporary urban development, something we may call the city of real estate. So what do we mean by this? Now, in this developmental context, limited government capacity focuses on overcoming very basic infrastructural challenges to lay the ground, as it were, for the monetization of urban land by private players. Now, what emerges from this overwhelming reliance on market forces for city making is a very limited imagination of the city, one that can offer and support only a very narrow dimension of urban life, like housing, offices, shopping, and that too to a very limited number of citizens. I'm sure you're all familiar with this kind of imagery. Now, this city of real estate is at once, it's dull, it's risk averse, and it's basically exclusionary, and none of these things are desirable outcomes for our cities. Now, what gets lost in all of this is any meaningful sense of a public domain, right? Which is the principal theater for social exchange in the city. To quote one of our reference texts, it is in the public places of cities, its squares and streets accessible to all of the city's inhabitants, that all can see and hear each other. We fear the loss of this ability. Now, the existence of these public spaces is an integral part of what we may call cityness. That is the quality, the character, in fact, the many frictions of collective life, as opposed to the world of private property, of family, of closed societies, where all members share a point of view and speak with one voice. So now, with this general concern in mind, our ambition for the semester is to imagine a more inclusive future for Bhopal, a future that puts social relationships and community life first. Blanca and I see this as an important step in the construction of a new narrative around our cities, a narrative that says it is possible and indeed it is desirable to live together and hear each other out. So how do we approach public space? So that brings us to our second thread, which is our theme for the semester. So this semester will be about leisure. Now, leisure by definition is the opposite of work, and of course that is a very broad description. But we find it very interesting because the leisure as a theme encompasses forms of public activity that bring together the social and the spatial in ways that have the capacity to shape the city itself, and in turn generate cityness. If there's anything this lockdown has taught us, it's that we are indeed social beings. We do crave the company of others. We do miss our broader communities of friends and colleagues. So Blanca and I believe that the city of tomorrow, the city of the future, must provide spaces for community building at the scale of a neighborhood, and the architecture of leisure will be our tool this semester. So to summarize, we will study Bhopal through the lens of leisure. We will speculate on its forms, its processes, and its future. We will use leisure to examine topics of ownership, access, the nature of boundaries, etc., and ultimately reimagine the architecture of leisure as a generator of cityness.
Yeah, so when it comes to the inner workings of the unit, we have structured the semester into parts, one analytical and one projective. We regard the process of analysis not as a precondition for, but an integral part of the design process. So, working in groups, we will begin the first analytical part of the semester with an in-depth research into Bhopal. By surveying the social, regulatory, and planning factors that have produced its present condition, we will investigate the nature of leisure in Bhopal, identify its types and processes, and speculate on their potential to be reimagined as activators of this cityness that Udayan was talking about. Drawing on this initial research, you will select a specific leisure type and a project site within Bhopal as your area of individual investigation and design. Each of you will study the historical evolution of your selected type and choose several exemplars for a deeper formal analysis in order to identify the key architectural systems that characterize the type and its performance. Guided by this analysis, we are going to ask you to identify and articulate a thesis framed in terms of a conflict between your chosen leisure type and your site, between the architectural and the urban scales. With this thesis as a conceptual platform, you will propose an urban strategy for your site. This articulation of thesis and strategy will be captured in a short text and a single manifesto poster image that will become your guide during the rest of the semester, like as a personal design brief. So part two of the semester, the projective part, will begin with each of you developing your urban strategy into a proposal for a transformation of your architectural type. This will be illustrated as a series of diagrams that should clearly capture the specific architectonic systems that enable this transformation. The remainder of the semester will be spent in developing this transformation into a comprehensive architectural design proposal. The idea is that you will work progressively through urban and architectural scales and will conclude with the detailed development of a single key fragment of your project, a detail that is representative of the transformation you are proposing. So you will distill your conceptual thesis through all scales of the architectural project, from the urban context all the way to the construction detail. The goal being to develop a certain strategic and critical approach to the architectural project as a holistic endeavor. Additionally, during the first month, we have planned a series of short talks with various practitioners and experts on the field that will bring different points of view on the topic and hopefully spark some interesting conversations.
So we have four talks that we've got lined up for the first month. So joining us from Mumbai, we have Sameek Padora, who will talk to us about his work as part of the Bandra Collective on various public space projects in Mumbai. From Berlin, we have Oana Stanescu, who is the co-founder of an office called Family New York, and were the primary drivers behind the Plus Pool project in New York City. Also from New York, we have Corinne Kempster and Julia Jamerzik, who will talk us through their work on public space, art installations, and public playgrounds. And lastly, we have from Sao Paulo in Brazil, we have Mariana Vilela, who will give us an insight into Sao Paulo's architectural infrastructure and demands on public space access. So that's it.
We hope we have managed to interest you in the topic, and that you decide to join our studio unit. So thanks for your time.
Thank you for your time.
See you soon. Bye.